The Amory Panthers were a year ago. Bobby Hall and company marched their way through the 1994 season with a perfect 15-0 record. That march ended here in Jackson with a flattening of Franklin County to capture the Class 3A crown.
Yeah, sometimes I wish the game would never end. I like to yell and cheer with all my rowdy friends.
That brings us to 1995. Amory was the preseason #1 pick in the Jackson Clarion Ledger poll, a first for a Class 3A school in Mississippi. The high expectations definitely hovered over the town of Amory. Could the Panthers repeat their spectacular season of 1994, which would mean another undefeated campaign and a second straight state title? Amory would answer the questions with a resounding yes. The winning tradition continues.
Are you ready to get rocked? Are you ready to roll? Are you ready for
Time to start up the 95 season at home on a Thursday night in Amory against Columbus.
Can you tell it's football season? The referees are even getting warmed up. The Amory Panthers came out charging on defense. After the offense failed to score on the first series, defensive back Scott Haynes picks off David Verdell's pass with 5 minutes left in the first quarter. He breaks a few tackles. He's in. Touchdown, Amory.
Coach, you said you wouldn't be surprised if your defense scored first, and they did.
Well, we think we've got a great defensive football team. There's a lot of football to be played left, in 95. But, hey, those guys can play.
So can the offense. I mean, anytime you have a 6'5", 223-pound tight end who's listed as a top college prospect on your team, you're going to be okay. Rufus French, #9, with the big catch and the big gain. Chris Jones with the throw. A few plays later, it's Jones to French again, this time a 4-yarder for the 6 points. Amory up 14-0. The defense coming into play again. Verdell with the ball for Columbus. He goes left and then just gets hammered by Frank Bates. The ball pops loose. The Panthers recover. Sets up another touchdown. Joe Gunn, the highly touted tailback, gets the sweep and barrels his way in for the score. He added 2 more in the first half as the Panthers win the game by 40.
I knew we'd be ready to play. I could see it yesterday, and I could see it again tonight. Hey, these guys love to play the game.
Nick Peranjbe, WTVA Sports, Amory.
So after clobbering Columbus, it was time for Game 2 and a hosting of Aberdeen. Amory favored big time over their Monroe County rivals. It would be one of those nights for Aberdeen. Joe Gunn, after gaining what would be a season-low 44 yards in the opener, will get the big gainer here. Gunn on the night, 153 yards on 11 carries. How about some Amory defense? Reggie Smith with the pick. And the Panthers would take advantage of the turnover. Chris Jones says, "I'll take it in myself." Jones would have 2 touchdowns on the night. Later, more Reggie Smith on defense. This time, Smith with the fumble recovery. He is gone for the touchdown. Aberdeen's offense managed only 29 yards of total offense all night. As for Chris Jones, he was 7 of 14, 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rufus French, 4 catches, including this TD. And Amory cruises to a big win over the Bulldogs of Aberdeen. Time now for Game 3 and Pontotoc. Bobby Hall and the Panthers remember the 2 terrific tussles in '94 against the Warriors. Good stick early on by the Panther defense. That Panther D would hold Pontotoc to 151 yards on 49 plays. That's only 3 yards a play. Ryan Hooker, the Pontotoc quarterback, deflected by Irby Hampton. We had no score in the first quarter. That would change in the second with 1 Joe Gunn carry. With 9 minutes left in the first half, Amory had the lead. Gunn would get 220 yards, on 22 carries. The fumble recovery here by Darius Brown. And that would lead to more Panthers scoring. Chris Jones, 6 of 11, 101 yards and 3 touchdowns. Here the big-time fake up the middle. He is in. The 2-point conversion to Rufus. French would have 4 catches, 62 yards, and 2 touchdowns besides that catch. More defense. O'Neal Small, number 4, with the deflection. Amory led 17-0 at halftime. Then it's Joe Gunn's turn, the long run, part of 363 yards of total offense for Amory. 220 of those on the ground with Gunn. And Amory now 3-0 in the season with the win against the Warriors. The Amory Panthers are one of the nation's top 25 high school football teams. In case you missed it at 6, the Panthers were ranked 24th in today's USA Today. They were also listed as one of the top 10 teams in the South. Head coach Bobby Hall obviously thrilled with the news, although at 6, you heard him say all he wants is to be ranked number 1 in Class 3A here in Mississippi at the end of the year. So the nationally ranked Amory Panthers took to the field. Game 4 at Kasuth, the first road game of the year for the Panthers. We're going to speed this one up a bit because it was all Amory. Chris Jones to Rufus French. That started the scoring. The Aggies would manage only 85 yards of total offense in 33 plays. Here the block punt. That sets up Amory's second touchdown. Jones to French, 14-0. The Aggies could get only 2.5 yards of play. The Panthers would average 8 a crack on this night. Jones and French would hook up 3 times. All 3 ended in touchdowns. Amory scored 17 in the first, 21 in the second quarter, and 14 points in each quarter in the second half. And the Panthers are now 4-0. Now, while Amory rolled through their first 4 games, Game 5 at Shannon would be a little different, at least at the beginning. That is Keetrick Marion. And on the option play, he goes 60 yards. It caps off a 99.5-yard drive, and Amory in some hot water early, trailing 7-0. But Zelbert Johnson fights up the middle, and after 1 quarter, we are tied at 7. Shannon would retake the lead in the second, 10-7. But then Joe Gunn, 26 carries, 278 yards, and a touchdown on the night. This scamper would set up a Chris Jones quarterback sneak, and Amory led 14-10. Then later in the second, 4th and 6, Chris Jones to Cedric Dobbs, the first down. Jones 5 of 10 for 102 yards. Later from the 1, Jones with the keeper, 3 touchdowns rushing for Jones, 21-10, Amory at halftime. In the second half, Zelbert Johnson rips the big gainer. Johnson had 12 carries for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. That would set up a Drew Hagan field goal. The 4th straight game, Hagan would split the uprights for 3, and Amory outscores Shannon in the second half, 30-0. Game 6, homecoming against Saltillo. And you can call Amory Air Amory, at least at the beginning of this one. Chris Jones to Eric Carpenter, 27 yards. Jones then to Brent Miley, a 31-yard TD strike. Jones 5 of 6 for 121 yards. And that touchdown to Miley. Terrace Burns and Lenny Adams forced the fumble here. Saltillo only 46 yards of total offense compared to 401 for Amory. Jones to Joe Gunn, and Gunn looking like a pinball wizard, bouncing off the would-be tacklers. It's 14-0 at that point. It was 35-zip after 1, and Amory wins its homecoming in fine fashion. Game number 7, also at home at Long Necker Field, or as the players prefer to call it, the Crypt of Pain. The Caledonia Confederates in town, and it would be a long night for the Confederates on offense. Not to mention defense as well. This was the first play from scrimmage. Joe Gunn taking the handoff, and he is gone 33 yards. And quickly, Amory leads 7-0. Then the Panthers defense forced the turnover. Chris Parker is there for the recovery. And Amory takes over. They give it to Joe Gunn, and he runs 56 yards for what appears to be a touchdown, but it is called back because of a penalty. So on the very next play, Bobby Hall says, hey, let's just give it back to Joe Gunn. And Gunn does it all over again. This time it's 68 yards. There's no penalties. And 4 minutes into the game, it is 14-zip Amory. After another Confederate turnover, it's Chris Jones, the lob to Rufus French, touchdown. Although this one is called back due to a penalty. So on the next play, Jones to French, no flags, and that's 7 points, and it's 21-0 Amory. Then the Panthers defense scores. It is O'Neal Small with the interception, the nice caravan to the end zone. Small makes it 27-0, the extra point by Hagan, 28-zip. Then Joe Gunn again. We've seen this before. 53 yards for the touchdown. Gunn 157 yards on just 4 carries. 3 of those were touchdowns. After a safety, Caledonia kicks to Amory, and Anthony McIntosh will return the kickoff back for a touchdown. And the scoring continues for the Panthers. Then Amory with the fake field goal, and in trouble. What happens? Well, give it back to Drew Hagan. And Hagan carries, not kicks, for a score. A touchdown for Drew Hagan. And the route is on. Then later, quarterback Will Hall with the nice fake, keeps it for a while, then flicks it out to Steve Griffin, and Griffin is gone. 46 yards on the night. Griffin had 153 yards, 11 carries, and 3 touchdowns. So after Amory posts a 70 mark on the scoreboard, the Panthers hit the road to go to Ripley and take on the Tigers. Here, the interception by the Panthers in the first, but there was no score after 1 quarter. In the second quarter, Chris Jones on the option, 8 carries, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the night for Jones, his only 100-yard game on the ground of the year. Jones again keeping his balance. Jones through the air was 3 of 5, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Amory defense, Reggie Smith, the tackle behind the line. 45 offensive plays for Ripley, only 16 yards. Joe Gunn then rips one. 15 carries for Gunn, 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. That sets up a Gunn TD run. 19-zip at half. Amory, 406 yards of total offense. Defensively, you can chalk up another shutout for that Panther D. Back home for the next game, hosting Memphis Hamilton High School. Defense was the story early on. In fact, for the second straight week, Amory was involved in a scoreless first quarter. Frank Bates for the Panthers with that fumble recovery. The scoring would get underway in the second. Joe Gunn, a 65-yard run, and the Panthers led 7-0. Then Chris Jones to Gunn. Jones, 11 of 19, 146 yards and 3 touchdowns. It is 14-0. Then a nice series out of the Panther defense. First, the sack by Lenny Adams. Then Anthony McIntosh strips it. Terrace Burns gets it. And this would lead